I think so too. Yeah.
Give us a lightning bolt, Susan. A nice one.
So, okay, tell me when. Okay, we're going to continue. The thing I want to share with you is, where were we at? I was talking about Saturn not doing, the actions must be supportive of one or two other indicators besides Saturn in the chart. And those three witnesses that you need to look at are the new moon, progressed moon, and Saturn. I'll begin the lesson with a major impacting event of near death, and destruction to prove the amazing power of the cosmic key. A system to foretell major crises in a chart. As the charts show the very destructive power of the combinations of these aspects in charts with major afflictions. I've chosen them as they demonstrate the incontrovertible power of the cosmic key to predict events of major impact in our lives. And I have to tell you, every chart was just a random pick, except my own, of course. But I mean, they were random. It was random too. But I didn't have any preconceived idea how these would work until I did them, and I brought up these charts. Having worked with these planetary influences for decades, I've always been aware of the relationship of Saturn to keys, to timepieces. Chronometers is named after Chronos, Father Time, the measure off of all things. Transit Saturn is only able to unlock the meaning of the chart and bring out the hard aspects of it when it is triggered by one or two other influences. In other words, when progressed moon align with major factors in your chart and the lunations, the new moons, align to impact your chart, they are like an alignment in a slot machine. When all these three line up, or even just two at once, then the actions happen. I'll demonstrate this clearly as we continue with this lesson.
Cool.
Okay. I want to begin with a very impacting event that happened to me recently. It's not recently now, but 5.5 years ago. I had a major heart attack on Sunday evening around 10 o'clock on December 14th of 2008. I never had any symptoms or previous heart problems, and my health had been excellent all of my life. And this is my chart. Now, remember I told you a friend of mine had developed, I don't call him a friend anymore, but anyway.
Yes.
I don't,
Computer program.
this is the, if you look, this says down here, this is the, you can't read it, but this is the progressed chart, which is the inner chart. The transit chart is the outer one. Okay, if I brought this down, it would say inner. The natal chart's in the middle. And I wanted a program that could do this very quickly. And I also wanted a program that could bring the new moons up to the date and time of each month. And the nice thing about this, I can go forward and back with new moons real quick with this program. And I can check month by month by just going to new moons, see what's going on. Well, this happened, you always pick the new moon before the event, obviously. It's the new moon that last occurred that you're going to look at. And, for example, I think the last new moon was around March 1st. So, whatever, somewhere in there. So, that would be the one that's influencing this month right now until the next new moon, which was near the end of the month. But the point being that I want to show you what happened. In my chart, I have a grand cross with Neptune opposing Jupiter and Venus opposing Moon. It's a grand cross, perfect. This is squaring this, 25, 25. This Venus is rising in the east at 26. And down here is Jupiter right there at 28. So they're a perfect grand cross there, right? You all see it? Can you all see that?
Can you one more time? Sorry.
Okay.
I only was writing something, so I couldn't.
Okay. Let's see.
Can you make it bigger?
Not really. But this is Jupiter down here.
Yep.
And the inner chart's my natal chart. It's exactly opposing Neptune up here at 25 Virgo. 20 right here.
Yeah.
So
Thank
it's
you.
opposing the natal and the transit.
No, don't worry about transits.
Okay.
We're not going to look
Okay,
at those.
fine.
We're looking at the natal chart right here.
Right, I see that.
And then we see Venus here, which is in square Jupiter and opposing Moon. So
Right.
they're in a grand cross.
Right.
So I was born with a grand cross, okay?
Right.
Now, my sun is at 5 Sag with Mercury here at 5 Sag. Okay, just these two are Sun and Mercury, 5 degrees Sag. That's exactly squaring 5 Pisces down here, Mars, right? See it? Okay. Now, Mars squaring Sun, think about it. What does your Sun rule?
Descartes.
Good, very good, good, quick answer. And it rules your life.
Depends on the heart.
Yeah, when your lights are out, the sun's out. Okay, when it's gone, it's gone. So that's what's going on. We got Mars afflicting it. So what does Mars do? Harm or injure or attack. Mars attacks, right?
Aggression.
So I was born with Mars squaring my sun. So I should have known all my life that that's the likelihood of something happening. But like I said, I've always been very healthy, never had a problem, never had any problems with my health in my lifetime. And then all of a sudden, I'm floored by a heart attack. Now, look at what's going on. My progressed, let's go, wait, let's go. Progressed moon.
Is 5, which is the same as your sun.
The outer circle is the progressed moon.
This is the progressed, this is the transit. Let's go to
Okay.
transit Saturn
Oh,
first. Okay. The day it happened, it was a new moon. 5 degrees Sag, exactly. The new moon actually fell right on that Mars square. You see that? Fell right on top of my sun. Transit Saturn was sitting right on my Grand Cross, right here. Okay. Not only that, it was afflicting my ascendant. Okay. My ascendant's 21 Sag. Saturn's at 20, almost 21, 2043 of Virgo. Your ascendant is one indicator in a chart of your life. It's yourself. It's I am. The fact that it's squaring off to that as well as sitting on my Grand Cross is a powerful symbol of potential danger.
Where is the sun on that day or at that time?
Right here.
Where is
Right there, over the left.
Oh,
It's a new moon.
oh yes, of course.
So they're right on top of
Yeah,
that. Okay.
Right on top of the sun.
Right.
Now,
Wow.
So, can you go back to the ascendant? I'm not really so clear on that sometimes. I don't really, so you're saying the ascendant was squared Saturn?
yeah, well, Saturn was squaring the ascendant. The ascendant doesn't move. It's always the same. It's a 21 degree Sagittarius, right here. How come it says midheaven 22 Sag? Oh, because that's the progressed. I see. So this degree is my ascendant. It's 21 degrees Sagittarius. So this Saturn is exactly squaring my ascendant. It's exactly setting on a Grand Cross.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Okay, I get it.
And that Grand Cross, if you have a Grand Cross and you know that Saturn's transit time in a chart is roughly 28 years, and you know the progressed moon has the same action time of 28 years roughly, what does that mean if you have a cross in the chart?
Every
7
7 and a half
years.
years.
Good for you, 7 years.
7
Or
years.
7.
Yeah, that's perfect, thanks for that.
7.
That's thinking it out real quick. Because 7 times 4 is what?
28.
Yeah.
28. So, you've heard of people with 7 years bad luck, those little things. Where do you think it all came from? It came from astrology.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay.
So you just have to watch, you would probably have to watch that every 7 years, is that it for you? And then you have to watch for the new moon, so.
Yeah, the new moons too, this new moon fell exactly there. Saturn fell exactly on that cross. The third thing did not fall exact, and that's the progressed moon. Progressed moon's at 15 degrees Capricorn. But it says 2 or 3 witnesses. Remember I've said that to you?
That's why you're alive.
That's a good thought,
Yeah.
Yeah, that could have been a triple whammy. And I never thought about it in that light, but that's a good possibility too. Because if that had been sitting on that cross, then...
So you didn't win it in Vegas, that means that's why you're alive. You only got the 2 bars.
You got it. You got it. Yeah.
Have you looked at your the next 7 years?
Don't do that to me.
Yeah.
Actually, I look at my progressed moon regularly just to make sure I can see that it's tracking where it's at. If you figured that happened 5 years ago, roughly, so maybe, another year and a half, it'll get on that cross again. I can actually figure it out if I want to go
Yeah.
forward. Maybe I don't want to look right now, but that moon is moving, and so is Saturn. But see, Saturn's no longer, if you look at it right now, it's in Scorpio. Now, it will move into Sagittarius,
And then retrograde.
right?
Well, it's-
I know.
It's in
Yeah.
retrograde right now.
When
It's
it's
at
moving to
22, by the way.
Sagittarius.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Which one?
It's what?
No, Saturn's a 20.
Saturn is at 22 right now.
22 Scorpio.
Right now, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
22
Oh, it is
to
retrograde,
50.
and then it's gonna come back again,
Yeah.
right, I'm sorry, you're right.
I'm not sure when it moves into Sag, but if it moves into Sag, and let's say it moves to my sun,
You're right.
right on my sun, that's gonna set it off square to Mars, isn't it?
Mm.
You see, because my Mars is, in my birth chart, is squaring Mars. My sun right is squaring Mars. So if Saturn moves out of Scorpio into Sagittarius, it can move over my sun, triggering that square again. Add to that, if the progress moon moves to one of those points on that cross, then you get it again, you get that same energy again. So, very good, you guys are thinking, you're really thinking through, yeah.
Progress moon is not squaring anything, I can't, it's hard for me to
Oh,
say.
in
It
this
looks like
chart?
it probably,
It's
could be
it's 15
squaring
Capricorn, it's not really.
it's not squaring anything?
Wait a minute, no, there was an aspect here, what am I talking? Let me show you what it is.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Looks like it.
No, it's semi-square, thank you. It was semi-square, my son, 45 degrees. This is 15, how many degrees in the sign, 30?
And that's fine.
Okay, let's take the 30 of Sagittarius is what? Is 30 degrees, right, in Sagittarius, right? And this is at 5, that leaves 25 degrees, right? 35, 40, we're sitting at 40 degrees with this, it's sort of a semi-square by a few degrees.
And nothing else, it's not squaring anything? It's hard to tell sometimes in these charts.
Yeah,
It
well, we
almost
can,
looks like it could be opposing something and,
no, this is just the part of fortune, which I don't count as anything.
1, 2.
And I have very few, nothing really at, almost all my planets are 28 or these at 5, and that's about it. They're 25 and 26, right in that area, 28. Only things I have nothing at 15. The aspect that it could be making would be a semi-square to Sun, but it's a little strong on the orb. It's about 4 degrees out from being perfect. But 2 degrees is considered a minor aspect, like a semi-square. Remember, I want you to learn those aspect symbols, okay? A semi-square is like a little sideways V. It's 45 degrees, right?
Yeah.
A square is what? Is a square. Okay, opposition is a line with 2 little circles on each end, right? Okay, I want you to know these, and it'll make it easier for you to read charts, okay? Besides, I got a surprise for you all today.
How much?
I got a surprise for you all. You're all gonna get tested. I knew I'd get you. Look at you.
On the monitor.
Oh
It's
my
gonna
God.
take only 15 minutes.
It's a quickie, and it's not for me, it's for
There,
you.
15 minutes. No, let me see.
Oh
This is-
gosh,
should
well, I'm
we
not
take
gonna
only
get the
15
house.
Yeah.
No,
Just
take your
don't
time.
put the camera on me so you see when I'm cheating.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's
the camera.
here's the thing.
Cheating.
Now let me ask you a question, are
No
these tests
cheating.
the same tests or
Oh,
they're
I'm
just like
cheating.
particular to our charts?
No, it's a general test, but here's the thing.
That was an astrology
It's for
show.
you, not for me. It's not for me to criticize you or
it's
judge
an
anything.
exercise.
It's for you to learn that
Thank
these
you.
are things you need
Yes,
to know.
do you see better?
So if you don't have it together, don't worry about it. Just say, okay, I better go home and study this and make sure I understand it.
And
That's the
right.
reason. So we're gonna do this a little later and have a little fun. Again, don't be intimidated by anything like this. This is for your edification, not for your criticism.
We can thank Saturn for this.
Oops.
Oh,
This is Saturn.
This is my Saturn.
No scratching.
Okay, all right. So, should we go a little further? Right. Upon my release, how come we got that there?
The machine's in retrograde, I guess.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Okay, we'll go back to your
Oh,
chart.
We would've gone right back to the permission.
That was
Yeah,
your chart.
right.
Yeah, okay, we did my chart, okay. Okay, so let's look at, okay,
Bin Laden?
yeah.
Hey,
Uh-huh. Okay, we looked at this,
Yeah.
let's move on. If you observe the growth chart in the inner circle, you'll find I have grand cosmic Neptune, Virgo, opposing Jupiter and Pisces, squaring Venus and Sag, and the Moon in Gemini. I was also born with Mars and Pisces, squaring my Sun and Mercury in conjunction in Sagittarius. Now at this time of the event, we need to have 3 major indicators inflicting the natal chart. Okay, my progressed moon is at 15 Capricorn. Okay, it's showing not triggering any major aspect, though it's at exact midpoint of Mars and the Sun. That's interesting. Midpoints I don't want to confuse you with those, but there is something about midpoints. Anything hits a midpoint, something can trigger the energies of those two planets. It's not like your squares and oppositions, okay? The new moon part of the event is sitting exactly on top of my sun and Mercury in the 12th house, squaring my natal Mars in Pisces. The second house, Mars squaring my sun literally can be interpreted as a heart attack, okay? And Pisces rules hospitals. That's where I ended up. Okay, sun in the 12th, right? 12th house, hospitals, right? And they saved my life too. They gave me a stent and get on your way. So that was pretty nice. Now after this, I mean, literally I'm living on borrowed time. Think about it. If I lived, 20 years ago, I probably wouldn't have been able to survive it. I would think, no way out of it. So this transit Saturn is sitting at 20 Virgo, again, right on top of the Grand Cross. This is the only recent example of the accuracy of this technique. I'll present several more. Saturn is conjunct Neptune and Virgo, both signify hospitals and health issues. My Neptune's in Virgo. Hospitals, Neptune, Virgo is health. Interesting, isn't it? So Saturn's sitting right there. It's like time, Ron. It's time you go to the hospital. It's time you spend a little time with your health. Okay? All of it became a major emphasis right there. Virgo rules your health. Sickness and health, all that.
Okay, being that this is the flip side of the negative, but what about the flip side of the positive, the good? With the Mars, with the Sun. So if it could be heart attack, but what about you work on that, you strengthen yourself. So what is it? You become a marathon runner? That's gonna be funny. You have a strong heart. I mean, how does it make you better if you
That would
work
have
on
been
it?
good if I did all that, but I didn't. Yeah, they put me in a program which I was supposed to go to, and I should have. Whatever. I'm a bit of a. I mean, you guys are stubborn Tarians, but I'm stubborn my own way because I live my life
We're
by faith.
tenacious.
You're mutable.
I do.
No,
I'm beautiful. But, yeah.
You should have ran more. You should like to run away.
See,
Right?
I mean, no, you're like a brother. If you were around me, you'd be kicking me in the butt and say, let's go to the gym. I'm around this lady and I had to stop that because it drove me crazy. And she can justify it because she loves me, she wants my help. But I'm also, don't talk to me about, planting those seeds of I'm gonna die if I don't do this and all that. I just can't buy into that. Maybe I shouldn't be here 5.5 years later, but I'm still here, okay? And I have no fear of, it's not about dying, it's the fear of, not even fear, it's the thought of leaving somebody without, the help and the assistance that I can give in my life to somebody. Anyway, enough of all that, that's not
But
good.
everything has a purpose, so
Yeah.
we shouldn't worry about it. I'm not going to tell you how to think because.
Yeah, you try to, Taurus, it's just tough.
No, I mean, because
I'm just kidding.
No, exactly.
I know. Okay, the key to this entire system is simple and straightforward. You only need to seek out 3 main indicators of events: the progressed moon, the new moon, and preceding the time you're looking into the transit Saturn. It's when 2 or 3 of these indicators align themselves that you need to pay close attention. So you kind of get it, but let's look. 28's magic number. Interesting how close these all come to the magic number of 28. The cycle of the moon and its approximate 28-day cycle from new to new. The Saturn transit cycle is approximately 28 years. The progressed moon is cycle is approximately 28 years. Amazing, isn't it, that those are all falling in that number?
Isn't your birthday on the 28th?
Huh?
Isn't your birthday on the 28th?
Yeah, smarty.
Oh.
I never thought of that one. Wow, I gotta think on that. Okay. Yeah, let's see, 2 and 8 is 10, so what's that come up to, 1?
1.
I'm number 1.
All right.
Okay, the reason people experience,
What year's cycle?
the reason people experience very often no major events when transit Saturn reverses their chart is just because the new moon and the progressed moon do not back them up in their action. That's what I've been talking about all night, so you got that message, right? Yes,
Very quick question. When Saturn transits, you said it's 2 degrees going into the sun,
Applying.
1 degree
Separate.
going out. Okay.
Yeah.
Same with progressed moon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. You're a good student, and you're
No,
really
but I
a
don't know the
student.
houses, I don't know.
Don't
the
stop
names.
that, stop that.
I-
Just
I
say
will.
thank you.
But thank you.
No, she's
Yes.
good at that, because I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I know, but
No, I'm not.
No, you're good. No, it's fast.
She's fine.
She's
Yeah.
she's great. I mean, I can tell, one thing in this, once you start studying astrology, you're gonna, it's like Elena around somebody that speaks French, she's gonna know real quick if they know it or not. Or Russian or whatever she speaks. But the thing is, the same with this stuff, you're gonna know instantly when you're around people how much they know. And they can't pull your wool over your eyes, so to speak, because you can tell the language is a language that only you know. And those people that are in the know, that have been in this circle, can grasp it. So anyway, so back to this. Remember, similar to a slot machine, we don't need to do that again. Any chart should reveal the power of the cosmic key. The bin Laden's chart at the moment of 9/11 should reveal it. Bin Laden's chart will be another example of destructive power of these influences. The chart is calculated for 9/11, attack on the U.S. trade, and of course I did this chart without previously looking at it for this exercise, but it once again proves the accuracy and power of this technique. I have yet to see it fail me. Remember, I had no idea, I just picked the chart. I said, let's pick something that's good and see what we find. So here's the natal chart of Bin Laden. The moon's rising in the east in Cancer. The sun's up here in the midheaven, right at the top of the chart, 19 degrees of Pisces. This is the house of fame and reputation. My God, he surely had infamy, and that's from this. And in his own country, he was considered a hero. He still is. You go to Palestine, they think he's a great man. He did, destroyed 3,000 lives and killed people, and that's made him great. So this is, and then his sun's conjunct Venus and Mercury. So there's a lot of power in this chart, and it's opposing Jupiter in a cross here, and it's also squaring off to the moon. It's a T-cross. You see this? These are square. This is at 1 degree Cancer. That means if you drop it back just a couple degrees, it's in Gemini, right? Gemini at 29, squaring 27 Virgo. They're square. You tend to, when you're doing charts, you're going to, sometimes as you're new at this, you're going to miss some of these aspects. You say, oh, Cancer is not squaring Virgo. But it's at the very beginning of Cancer, the end of Gemini. So, it's an orb. That's what you're looking for. So, the progressed moon was at 24 Aquarius, and it was opposing what? Pluto in his chart. Okay? Pluto is what? Death and destruction. I mean, it could be of the worst kind. And it's in Leo, which is, a very powerful place for it to be. Of course, a whole generations of people have Leo Plutos, because it's a slow-moving planet. But if you look at Saturn in this chart, it's at 13 Gemini. So let's do this. I'm going to do it this way. Find a new moon preceding the event. Look to the outer circle node here. It's at 26 degrees Leo. This sets it right on top of Pluto in his natal chart, which sets it perfect square to Mars at 25 degrees stars. Just what you'd expect to describe the utter death and devastation part about it this time. So we're going to go back to this and look. The new moon preceding the event, it's at 26 degrees Leo, right on top of Pluto, and squaring Mars. Let's go back and look. Okay? New moon, right here, 26 Leo, right on top of Pluto, squaring Mars, because remember, this is at the end of the sign. Next sign is Virgo. Mars is right here. It's a cross. And Saturn sits up here at 24 Aquarius, opposing Pluto. So you've got the new moon sitting on top of Pluto. You've got the moon,
You mean the progressed
progressed moon here.
Yeah.
This is transit outer circle. Remember that.
Right.
The inner circle is progressions. This is his birth chart inside. So what we have is, we have the moon opposing Pluto, death and destruction. We have the new moon falling exactly on top of Pluto.
I'm sorry, I have a question. You said that's the new moon preceding the event. But
Right?
if that's a transit, isn't that the moon at the point at which the event occurred? Isn't that where the moon is sitting at that moment, as
No,
opposed
it's
to?
the one before it happens. It could have been a week before, it could have been 2 weeks before. All you're looking for is the new moon of that month that it hits. Because it's,
So this is September 11th, right? This is September 11th.
well here, wait, let's do this. Here, you want to know how it works? I'll show you.
This is
This
about
is-
Obama
here.
Bin Laden.
See this?
Yeah,
The new
but the
moon?
date,
Wait a minute. This is, okay. Let's go down here. See, this was transits. When did the event occur? 9/11, right?
right?
The new moon that occurred before that was on August the 19th of 2001.
Okay,
Okay, so it's what? It's 3 weeks before, right?
Right.
Okay, so I put it in here.
It's 3 weeks before, okay, I get it.
Yeah, in other words, I had to go back and find the new moon that occurred before the event, because that's the one that's gonna
Right.
trigger it. Because the
So,
new moon lasts for the entire month.
Right.
so the outer circle's actually reflecting where the planets were on the day of the new moon?
The day of, no, the day of the attack. The actual position of the planets on that day. And the only one we're looking for is Saturn anyway. And the transits. The only transit we care about is Saturn.
Right.
And Saturn, in this chart, was sitting at 13 Gemini.
I see what you're confused about, I understand.
Let me ask you a question, Ron.
Wait, let me finish with
The
this.
new moon is what is from, yeah, a couple weeks.
Yeah, because listen, the new moons only occur once a month.
Right,
And they're prophetic of the month ahead.
right.
They don't change until the next new moon. Okay, let no one judge you, eat nor drink but the Sabbath new moons, which are a shadow of things to come. Sure, it came 2 weeks later, okay, but it came. Okay, that influence was there. But it wouldn't have been so much, but it was powered by those other two influences. The transit Saturn was sitting on opposition to Pluto. The new moon fell exactly on his Pluto, squaring Mars. Death and destruction is definitely what Mars and Saturn is. I mean, Mars and Pluto,
I'm
rather.
just, confused because
Yeah, I know.
the outer circle, you're saying, reflects all the positions of the planets on the day of the event, right? But yet the new moon is showing to be in the position it was 3 weeks earlier, so that's where I'm confused.
Okay, does Saturn move much in 3 weeks?
No.
No, but what about Mercury,
We don't look at
Mars,
those.
and everything?
I taught you not to use those.
So, but then my question still stands, so are we looking at the day of the new moon, or are we looking at the day of the event?
This is the day of the new moon.
Only that position?
No, all of the planets on that were the new moon chart.
So all of the planets on the outer circle are the day of the new moon?
Right, but the
Well,
only
that's
two,
the
the only
question.
two I'm concerned with is what?
Saturn
Saturn.
and
And
the
the new
moon.
moon.
Okay, that's all I need
Good,
to know,
no, it's
but
good,
now
as
I
long as it's
understand.
clear, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's where.
it doesn't matter because this doesn't move at all within 2 weeks.
That I understand.
So it doesn't, that's gonna be perfectly a significator by that, I know where it is. If I wanted to get minutes and say, okay, it's 1338 here, it might have been 1358 by the time it got that 2 weeks, you see?
Right,
In terms of minutes, but not degrees, it's not gonna change at all.
okay.
Good, you got it, yes.
Because in the annals of history, Osama bin Laden is going to be associated with this event in 9/11, the same way Oswald will be associated with JFK. And when someone does enough research, you'll see that Oswald really wouldn't really be involved in it himself. So he'll still be associated. So a person's chart is a question. A person's chart then can show that they're going to be involved with some type of event, even though they might not have done it, but they're still gonna be the scapegoat in a sense. So basically, Osama bin Laden here could have in his chart being associated with this event, but not necessarily the perpetrator, because I personally, with all my stuff, I've done research, this guy wasn't involved with this stuff, and if he was just a tool of
Okay.
the system to allow this to be happening, you know what I mean?
Well, I won't go on that because that's a whole different
Sure.
direction. I don't wanna do that. All I wanted to see was the impact of that day and how it affected his chart.
But can somebody,
Let's just say, let's stop him. Let's just assume you're right, he had nothing to do with it, but maybe
he's associated?
instigators
Right.
in the background. Who cares, because this affected his future totally.
Right, because he's involved with
Yeah,
it.
and he is inescapably dead because of it.
Right.
You see what I mean?
He was the accused.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So no matter what whether we get into conspiracy theories and all that, doesn't matter. The bottom line is this chart. Now I want to move because I want to show you a few others.
Well, yeah, but I need clarification,
Okay.
sorry, one more thing on this.
Good.
So, because I got it, now I got confused. So this, what I'm confused now is that you went and you looked back at the new moon. So does that mean that this could happen, this event could happen over from one new moon to the other? Or is it, you're saying it happens
Yeah,
on that day?
from the new moon that preceded the event.
From that period
Yeah,
to
the
the
next new moon wouldn't
So-
occur for another week or so.
Right, so it's gonna be a 28-day period that this
Yeah.
event could have occurred. It didn't have to happen on that date. That's what I'm getting
Yeah.
confused.
Well, that's where it gets into the three witnesses, I think. is the new moon is the thing that is supposed to be a sign of things to
To
come.
come, right.
Sign of things to come, so there's that, and then
Yes, I see that.
there's
But the progressed moon
transit.
and the transit, the progressed moon and the transits don't move quickly, so even maybe they could move in 2 weeks, but some of them, there might be some slight change over 2 weeks' time or
But
3
let's
weeks.
look at the progressed moon, it takes 28 years to go through that
Right,
chart,
I know.
okay? So, this was probably around 56 years, I don't know his exact age, you'd have to figure it out. He was born March 57, so how old would that make him at that time? In 2001, it's 67, 77, 87, 97. So, yeah, you would have been close to 50.
40-something, 42.
Almost
40
50.
You're the
4.
mathematician, girl, the accountant.
Oh,
So,
is it
the point I'm getting at is that
44?
the progressed moon moves roughly 28 years in the whole
It's the
cycle.
same as Saturn, I know, so it's
Yeah.
slow.
So, but the odds of it being exactly opposing Pluto, the new moon falling exactly on top of Pluto, all that squaring Mars, what's the odds of that? I mean, that triggers are so powerful. And the only point I'm trying to get to you is that, that we're dealing with forces that are, let's just look at what I've got. The new moon preceding the event, look at the outer circle, note it's 26 degrees Leo. This sets it right on top of Pluto in the natal chart, which sets it in perfect square to Mars at 25 degrees Taurus. Just what you would expect to describe the other death and devastation brought about at that time. Now we search for the progressed moon in the inner circle. You'll find it at 24 degrees Aquarius, forming a perfect T-cross opposing natal Pluto at 28 Leo and in perfect square to natal Mars. Now that's progressed moon. What's the odds those two things were to combine to form that position? Now, let's go one more. Find the transit Saturn, and this is making a perfect opposition to his natal Saturn at 14 degrees of Sagittarius and squaring his sun, Venus and Mercury in his natal chart. Everything that could conspire to create a conflict in that chart. Okay? We end up with two major T-crosses in a square between Mars and Saturn, formed by these three cosmic keys. It would be difficult to get all of these alignments to place at the exact time of this event, but it shows of every major conflict in this natal chart being set off at once, every one. The odds of that are almost unbelievable. Now this is just one chart. We've done my heart attack, we did this, now we'll keep
But
moving.
it could have happened anywhere from the new moon to
Yeah,
the next new moon.
yeah.
Okay, it didn't have to happen on
Doesn't-
September
you-
11th.
you-
Okay, I
it's-
just want to be.
It can, things to come. We don't know, all we
Okay,
know
got
is
it.
that monthly
Okay.
influence,
Got it.
okay?
Bush's chart.
Good, got it.
Okay, I realize there's more interpretations from this, such as the natal Sagittarius and 9th house Pisces influence, which would indicate airlines, which are used for as dastardly actions, but I'm trying to keep it simple and clear for you to see the power in this method. The next chart will look at NICOLE Smith
Cool.
at the time of her death. I picked these at random. I didn't have any idea what I'm going to get. I'm not looking to justify the technique. I'm trying to prove it to myself. And so all these charts were my test of the system. I wanted to see, is anybody going to throw me a curve?
Yeah.
Never got a curve yet. Okay? Okay, so here's her chart. Now let's read about it first and then we'll come back to it, okay? Same rules to Anna's chart, see if it reveals danger and potential death at the time of her expiration. Everybody knows who she is, right? Everybody knows, right? Okay. Find the new moon preceding the event. We find a new moon in conjunct Mars within 1 degree of exactness. It's squaring her moon and Venus. The moon represents the function of the body. There's only two indicators, they're called the lights, that you need to worry about something that can affect the health in a dramatic way. What do you think those are?
The moon and the sun?
Good, moon and sun, those are the lights. You say, you put your lights out? Huh? You ever heard that expression?
Yeah.
You don't want your lights to go out. If your moon and your sun go out, you're gone. The moon is the function of the body. Okay, the sun is the spark of life itself, if it's gone, it's the heart, if you would.
Or you can say that the moon is the emotional soul and the sun is the physical soul.
And the spirit, yeah.
And the spirit.
Exactly, yeah. So, if we find a new moon in conjunct Mars, what's the odds of that, okay? Within 1 degree of exactness, which is squaring her natal moon and Venus. Okay, so find the progressed moon. The progressed moon is exactly conjunct to natal Saturn. Wow! Progressed moon exactly conjunct Saturn, which is depression and, all things to do with, Father Time, the Reaper. Okay, her natal Saturn is quincunx her natal Jupiter and trine her natal Sun. It's also setting off in opposition to Uranus and Pluto in the 10th house. Sudden and unexpected. That's what Uranus is, sudden and unexpected, right? And Pluto is death in their 10th house, which is public recognition and fame. All the things that you would expect from this. Now let's go one more now. Find the transit Saturn. Saturn is a 23 Leo, which puts it near exact T-square to her Neptune, and also Mercury in her 12th house. Both the 12th house and Neptune rule drugs. The sleeping drugs. Did you know that? Not the Uranus drugs, which are the one we talked about that, right, in the class?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Okay, we're talking about the sleeping drugs. Neptune is sleep, dreams. Remember, you've heard enough. So, okay, let's go back. Saturn 23 Leo, which puts it near exact T-square to her Neptune and also Mercury in her 12th house. Both the 12th house and Neptune rules drugs and Scorpio rules death. It's also afflicted by a quincunx. Remember, that's a 150-degree aspect. It's a real important aspect. People don't see it because it's one sign off of being in opposition. 30 degrees this way or 30 degrees the other side of an opposition. Called the quincunx. Okay? And there's a 4-degree orb from exactness. It's referred to as 150 to Mars. That's the transit Saturn. And as you see, these three all worked into position to indicate a tragedy for her. So let's just go back and let's look at these. Here's Saturn, 23 Leo, exactly almost opposing Mars. It's only 3 degrees out. Right? Is that 3 or 4? So 4 degrees. That's really a powerful aspect opposing. And so that's transit Saturn. Now, look at the progressed moon. No, not the progressed moon. Yeah, the progressed moon is sitting at 5 degrees of Aries. And what did we see here? 5 degrees Aries.
Uranus? No. Oh, 5,
Wait, what did I?
Jupiter
Is
is
it
5.
opposing Uranus?
Oh, here, it's, let's go back and look at, let's go.
Pluto is at 5.
Is that what it was? Okay.
I think they were both
They're
there.
supposed to be, yeah.
Yeah, they're
Exactly.
both,
So its progressed moon is exactly conjunct her natal Saturn, and quincunx natal Jupiter, and trine her natal Sun. It's also setting it off in
Yeah,
opposition to
opposition.
Uranus and Pluto in the
Yeah.
10th. There you go, you're right. So, all right. So,
Pluto's almost.
yeah, because this is at 5. Pisces is right over here, it just moved out of Pisces. It's opposing these two planets, because if it's opposing this, and it is, it's really close. It's only 7 degrees out of orb. That is, and if it's triggering this, it's bringing this conjunction energy all together. In other words, you're reading now Uranus conjunct Pluto being triggered by this. Okay. Okay, and then the new moon is at 28 degrees of Capricorn, and that's squaring her Venus and her moon. So, I mean, there's so much here. Let's go forward again. Okay. By the way, quincunx aspect, the inconjunct, it's also called inconjunct, quincunx, you'll see it referred to as both. That aspect is called, it's got a 6th house, I think I told you this before. It's got a 6th and an 8th house meaning. Okay? If you start from your ascendant and you go 150 degrees around your chart, you're going to end up at the 8th house cusp. If you go this direction, down from the ascendant, let's say it's right on the ascendant, and you go 150 degrees down this way, you'll come to the 6th house cusp. If the aspect is going from here to here, you see, am I making sense? If it's 150 degrees going this way, it's called a death aspect. If it's going this way, it's called a sickness aspect. So the quincunx has a dual meaning. If you've got 2 planets sitting in those degrees, one at let's say the 8th house energy and the other from the 6th, it's called the finger of fate or finger of God. Very powerful energy.
You mean in your natal chart?
Yeah, it's fated.
In your natal chart.
Yeah, exactly, good. Okay, so I'll try to keep moving. Okay, Saturn in 23 Leo, which puts it near exact square to Neptune. which is drugs, and also Mercury in our 12th house is the sign of Scorpio. Now get this, 12th house rules death, rules drugs, and the sign of Scorpio, which rules death. This indicates to me betrayal, Scorpio, and deception, 12th house, by her lawyer friend. Okay? Mercury rules lawyers, and the intrigue surrounding this case has never been solved, neither her son's death nor hers. And this guy escaped any responsibility from this.
Mm.
Then you have the daughter that was born out of, who's the father type thing. I mean, think about it all. You could carry this one a long way if you wanted to, but we'd spend a whole class looking at that chart. I don't want to spend that much time on it, but you get some sense of it. Okay, I should point out, selected these charts randomly as I prepared this work. I've not chosen them from previous collected examples, but chosen because they were major events in people's lives of some note. I had no way of knowing what the results would be, but I have never seen the accuracy to fail. If given a major event in someone's life or death, Saturn and Mars and Pluto are major influences in these kind of tragedies. I see that always, okay? Saturn, Mars, and Pluto. I tell women, if you've got a relationship with somebody that's got Saturn, Mars afflictions with Pluto, be careful of that man. I hate to tell people that because, then I think, oh my God, I hope somebody in the room doesn't have that. I would never tell that to a lot of groups. Okay, but if I have women in a room, then I would say it, be real careful with it. Saturn, Mars, Pluto afflictions are dangerous.
I don't have that, right?
No, you don't.
Okay, thank God.
You just got Saturn, Mars.
You ladies can talk to me.
So,
No, you don't have it, you don't have it.
the major afflictions would be really the square and the
Oppositions.
opposition, that's it.
Yeah, and a semi-square.
Not conjunct.
Semi-square can do it. In conjunct can do it. Yeah,
Oh,
yes.
Now, with all these negative things that can happen, what, in your experience, how can one not have a negative thing happen? What's the positive thing to this?
I know. You can always look
These
at
are just
the
challenges, this is not a bad thing. So what is the positive thing to this?
Well, first of all, I wasn't in touch with Nicole Smith. If I had been around her and could counsel her, thank God I would have probably, maybe reached her soul and got communication with her. But she was around a lot of nefarious energies, and she was on a path of destruction by her lifestyle. She was drunk almost the time, or on drugs most of the time.
Right.
You can't reach those kind of people because there's just no getting beyond them. I don't think there's not everybody can be saved. Okay, quite truthfully. I'd like to think that, but you couldn't have reached me when I was a young man. I was on a path of destruction, and nobody's going to turn me away. Okay, just so you know, as an aside, I never looked at the chart, I said that, okay. I never part of a heart attack because I tend to be neglectful when it comes to doing my own chart. I know you always ask me that, but I'm happy I didn't look at it in advance, for I would have always wondered how much of my own anticipation of a crisis would have influenced the event. In other words, I can't be accused of psychosomatically producing the crisis out of my own expectations and or fears. Actually, in a way, it's good I didn't look at it and see it. Okay, John,
I don't agree with that.
I know you don't.
Because
Shut up, Taras.
No, you have because you need this, and here's the thing, if you have a stent, that means that something was building up in there, so it didn't happen suddenly.
Yeah, I know.
Like they say in the Kabbalah, nothing's happening suddenly, it's a buildup of things, so that's one thing to think about, for everyone to think about,
Yeah.
It's always good, if you
Can I take a break and have my ice cream now?
Yes.
my friend, let's ice cream too, sure.
I'm teasing you. Okay, let's do one more and then let's take a break. Okay, is it time to eat yet, honey? You wanna stop now? Okay.
What kind of ice cream do we have?